Om Shanti.
My dear friend, my colleague, fellow joy keeper, Halina Goldstein, thank you so much for sharing your story in this new book, Magic and Miracles.
Well, thank you, Andrea. It was quite a miracle to meet you first and then to be part of that book. And I'm really, really excited about it. Very special. Thank you.
Well, thank you, because I have noticed that since we met, a year and a half ago, you've shared so many experiences that to me really do seem miraculous. So I thought this is just like the perfect book for you to share your story in.
Yes, there's been a lot. And also, this experience that, a miracle is, there's so many ways in which we experience them, from meeting just the right people at the right time, such as yourself, to being part of books, to miracles unexpected, and to the miracle of living. So much. Yes.
Yeah. And that's really what I've loved about this book project is it's opened up my mind, and I'm hoping it's going to open up the readers' minds to what do we call miracles? Do they have to be these big, crazy things, or are there everyday miracles? Are there things that we just maybe overlook or dismiss that can, in my opinion, if we were willing to open up our mind to this idea, we might even invite more of the magic and the miracles into our everyday life.
Yes, absolutely. And I also noticed how relative it is in our own lives, depending on where we are on our journey, how we feel about ourselves and our world. The experience of what a miracle is changes. And that's amazing too. There's still, there are things that we just cannot explain that happen in the most beautiful ways, but there are also the smallest things, and it changes as we change. It's amazing.
Well, I love the chapter that you've shared with us in Magic and Miracles. I am home. And, well, I'm not going to give it all away, but I would love for you to explain and explore a little bit, because one of the things that I've loved about your chapter and a few other people whose stories where you just get cracked wide open in the best sense, and to experience what could be called bliss or joy or divine love or oneness, even when our lives are kind of like a mess, by most standards. To me, I find it incredible. So if you don't mind, I would love to just give the audience a little bit of a taste of where you were in this particular story, and how you had this experience.
Yeah, well, this first experience was really so intense and so tense. At this time in my life, I was very, very lonely, and have been so for decades, in spite of plenty of inner work that I've been doing already. There was like these waves of tremendous, very painful loneliness that would come and wash me to the ground, you could say. And this was one of these days when I was completely broken and completely depleted after crying and screaming my pain. And all of a sudden a completely different experience opened, completely out of the blue, completely unexpected. From one less than a second to another, I was in a completely different reality. I was in bliss in every possible sense of that word. And that was, I'm not going to share everything because I want the readers to read. It's better expressed there. But the essence of it was that it changed my perspective completely, because it showed to me that, as you said before, no matter what is happening, no matter what we experience, there's this other space, what we experience as miraculous, that is there, and that can open as grace at some points in our lives, and then later in our lives it can open actually, because we want it to open. That can happen too. We can do it, go there by will, as we change along the way. But knowing that this is possible makes all the difference. It means that everything is relative and that everything is an option for us eventually. We can open up to a different reality.
And the thing that means to me, or what I interpret from that, is if we can open up to a different reality, even when what we consider this 3D reality is a mess, if you're saying we can open up to that, whether we're knocked on our butt and we finally surrender or we choose, then that means that joy, love, peace, acceptance, wholeness, all of that is already here. We're just not aware of it, right?
Absolutely. And perhaps what you just said is like the most important thing. I keep sharing, and I would love to, as many people as possible, to really understand and ponder and hopefully accept, because we live in a world of polarity and duality. We are so used to thinking light and darkness and joy and sadness, but these experiences, the true experience of joy and love and peace, they are beyond polarity. And what it means is that we can bring them in. We can, it takes some training, it takes some inner work, of course, but it is absolutely possible for us to bring them in regardless of our circumstances. And in a sense, people know it. We know it. We know that when we are in pain, for example, we can still experience love. Most people have experienced that. But that goes for those other beautiful and much needed energies too. It goes for joy too. It goes for peace too. So there's an enormous potential there. And enormous healing that can happen.
And so what's interesting is that what you're saying as well, in your telling of your story, you had gotten to a point in your life where you had looked externally. Most of us don't grow up with, a lot of enlightened parents. So we're not talking about this stuff like duality and what is the reality. But many of us have felt like, oh, I'll be happy when I get that beloved someone or that job or that title or that money or that possession. We're looking externally for a sense of wholeness, for a sense of acceptance. And you had done that and tried it all, right?
Absolutely. And the beauty of it is that when I look back at my life, what really happened is that for as long as I tried and tried and tried to find love and, to make someone love me, essentially, make something or someone happy, make me happy through someone or something. It was like every door was closing, like life would not allow it for years and years and years. It was like life was pushing me into this realization of where I needed to look, namely inside. The beauty of it is that when I finally got it and finally surrendered to it, and finally went through that process of loving myself and opening that space, quite the opposite it happened. So now that I have found the love within and found the joy within, it becomes so much more also visible and experienced in the external. So I started meeting more and more people that would love me, more and more beautiful circumstances that would add to my happiness. Like, it kind of turned everything around.
And so, part of what you said was, you've told me before that if we learn to love ourselves unconditionally, then we can feel that sense of joy. We can feel the sense of belonging and connection. But when your lover has left you, or, you're away from family in another country, that just seems like, it just sounds like nice talk. Like, you got to love yourself, pamper yourself, take care of yourself, and don't worry, you'll find these new connections. You're already whole. I mean, I even say that to people. You're already perfect. You're already whole. But in our humanness, we don't feel that way, even if we hear it intellectually.
No. And I can so relate. When I embarked on that self-love journey, it was only because there were no other options, really. It wasn't that, wow, now I'm going to love myself. It was like, there's no one else to love me. So what am I left with? I need love. We do need love for survival, and everything in me like screamed for love, like in everyone else. So it was like, what do I do if no one else is there to love me? And then, okay, so I have to do it myself. And it was almost like resignation, really. It was like, okay, for lack of better options. So I can completely understand that feeling that it's like, but then we're not alone on that journey. Life is there for us, the divine, our source, our soul. So we are being taken or pushed or kicked or invited, depending on circumstances, into not just a theory of self-love, but into circumstances that will, quote unquote, force us or push us to open up. And then we can start having these experiences that something changes actually, that self-love is not just a nice theory, that feeling whole is not just a nice theory, it's an experience. And that's all we need. We just need those first experiences. We just need to find out, oh, when I treat myself like I would treat my best friend, when I relate to myself like I would relate to a beloved, something happens. And then it becomes it becomes like a positive spiral, and then we go more and more willingly into it. That's the only way I know.
Well, I know that in your work as a spiritual mentor, you're bringing, your depth of experience in life and your own spiritual practice. I'm curious to know, something you just said there is that life can nudge us, push us, pull us. I say sometimes life will smack you upside the head.
Yes.
Some of us, myself principally, some of us have to hit rock bottom before we really get some of the messages that life has been probably showing us. This is going to be, very metaphysical, but I really wonder, in your opinion, you've made it sound like there is some guiding force, whether we call it God, the divine, the universe, that there is some higher power that wants the best for us? Because you're saying it as if life is trying to lead us back home to ourselves. What does that mean to you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, these things are difficult to talk about.
I know.
Maybe not, yeah, but maybe partly because, it's for some people it can feel like a theory, but even more because I believe that most people do have these experiences, but they're difficult to talk about, and we lack words for it. And when we put it into words, it kind of sounds a little bit artificial or religious or something, but it's really about feelings. And the feeling, how shall I say it? When I was in that dark space, which was a very difficult journey for like 40 years, I did not experience that life was on my side. I already meditated. I did have an experience that there was a soul, but it was very distant somehow. And then as things started to open up, it became a much more like very direct experience of this love and this joy, like flowing into me and through me. And when I start looking back on my life, I could say I was really lovingly guided where I needed to be. And it wasn't because I was going astray. I really believe that we, through our entire life, get the experiences that we want to have on this journey. So how do you could say that it is a belief, but it's really a knowing. The best way I can explain it is that if you meet someone and it's just a stranger, then you will see just a person and it's just a stranger, and they have a body and they have a certain look and they speak a certain way, and it's just someone. Then you get to know them, and then maybe it becomes a very close relationship, a love relationship, and then worlds and worlds and worlds and worlds become to open up between you, and you gain an understanding of the other person and of yourself on a completely different level. And it's the same that happens on a spiritual journey. You connect with the soul that seems like something distant, or God, or whatever we call it. Then it becomes a more and more personal and deep and direct relationship. And then it's no longer about believing or not. It's not a religion. It's not a theory. It's a relationship. It's a feeling. It's a love. It's a continuous exchange.
I love it. I could listen to you talk all day. So one of the things that you've done since we've met is you've created the Joy Keepers Network. And you have told me before that you really believe that if we practice joy, like deliberately create some sort of a daily joy practice or ritual, this can be a way to open up to this experience of unconditional love and a spiritual path. And I guess in your words, then it isn't some religious theory. There's no dogma in it. It's a matter of creating this experience for yourself. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by creating a daily joy practice.
Well, there are basically like three ways of opening to joy, opening to this energy of joy that is beyond polarity. And one way is to just do things that we know bring us joy. So still to kind of do something, be in nature, be with people that you love, play, dance, whatever brings you joy. That's one way, that's one practice, and it's important. And the other practice is to remove everything within yourself that stands in the way of joy. And that's the deep inner work. So that could be therapy and healing and coaching. And there are millions of practices today that help us simply open up to ourselves. But the third practice is that there are certain things that we can do. It can be very simple daily practices, daily exercises that have this that open us to joy, really. And a gratitude practice, for example, is a very direct way to go into joy. I explain it more in this ebook that I wrote that's called Finding Joy Every Day. But just to give you a sense of it, when we feel gratitude, there's joy in it. So we are like used to say, I'm grateful for, a beautiful day, a beautiful person. But if you take away, this reason why you're grateful and just stay with the feeling of gratitude, then we open to joy. So what we can practice is that openness, that through gratitude we can start practicing going directly into this feeling of joy. And there are also other exercises. There are breathing exercises. There are very simple ways we can do that.
Well, wonderful. And I thank you for making this ebook available to the whole world. You can visit Halina's website, halinagoldstein.com /
HalinaGold.com.
Right. halinagold.com / welcome. And I will put it here on the screen and in this description so you can get a hold of that and start your own daily practice and look at these other deep insights that Halina has provided for accessing joy on an ongoing basis. Well, I'm excited for people to get a hold of this book, to read your story, because we've only scratched the surface. So I would definitely encourage people to get a copy and read it, because you have a beautiful way of writing. You have a beautiful way of telling stories that really leads us into all that you were feeling and really the wonder of how being in such a dark place and yet connected to so much love is miraculous, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you for creating this book, for making this possible. And I know that reading this entire book with all the stories in them and the way this whole thing is built up is a fantastic journey in itself. And I look forward to it, and I look forward to sharing it. Thank you.
Yes, it has been a journey already, hasn't it? And it's only just begun.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, I invite folks to check us out online at magicandmiraclesbook.com, where you'll be able to read the author's bios, watch more of the video interviews as time goes on, and connect with all of these amazing authors, including Halina Goldstein. So once again, my friend, I thank you so very much for your participation. And I hope that more people will join us at the Joy Keepers Network as well, so that we can have this ongoing discussion. And I really do believe that what you're doing is creating a space for us to be mindful, to be conscious, to be aware that it's a choice, that we can tune into this space of joy. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
Did you enjoy that interview? I sincerely hope so. If you did, remember to click that like button and share this video with someone else who needs a little positivity sprinkled into their life. And please do support the author by purchasing the book at your favorite bookstore. If you or somebody you know would like to spread your own message to the world, then check out our publishing options online at makeyourmarkglobal.com. We specialize in helping healers, coaches, lightworkers, and other soulful entrepreneurs who want to share their message with a global audience. We also do speaker training and authentic personal branding. I look forward to connecting with you again, and until then, remember, my friend, you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.